Hello everybody, and this is going to be a bit of a different video. Although it will be about Dwarf Fortress, this is a video that's going to be covering the theoretical roadmap for Dwarf Fortress. Now, before I even begin this, I would like you to take note that this was last updated on the Bay 12 website January 29th, 2020. So at the current time of recording, that was about 3 years ago. So with that being said, let's take a peek at their theoretical feature roadmap. So this first block of text refers to their next major goal, this being after the Steam release is completed. I will read this block of text and then kind of go through what these different features have to offer and kind of some ideas of what to theoretically expect from them. Because all of this stuff is in various forms of development and theoretical in some cases or planned, don't expect this to be representative of what actually gets released when it gets released. Dwarf Fortress always has a tendency of nailing the majority of what they promise, but don't always hit everything. So let's read through this. Our next major goal is to add a creation and myth and magic system generation. There are some things that we need to do first, though. We need to finish the graphical and usability update for Steam and itch, which is now done for half of it. And after that, we're going to finish some delayed features from the first villain release, along with doing work on some army and siege features and other matters listed below. The hope is that all of this will sustain us through the necessary map rewrite, a key part of the initial Myth and Magic release, which will unavoidably take a long time, no matter how the rest can be portioned between releases. Once we're ready, we'll do Myth and Magic release additions until we reach a satisfactory point, some options below. We won't get to everything, and after the Magic releases, we'll do a lot of foundational work, culminating in starting scenarios for your fortress. These changes touch upon law, property, status, diplomacy, and so on, which will position us for economic work and the thief rule development, though we haven't committed to a direction beyond the 3 sections below, and we'll be fixing bugs and making smaller changes between major releases. Before Premium released back on December 6th in 2022, the major releases we had before then were version 44, which was back in January or July 2018, and then after that, the version 47 series of updates, which was in January 2020. This was the last major release we had up until January 28th, 2021. So because they made the decision to split up the Villains release into 2 parts instead of just one chunk, means that a lot of the features that were supposed to be implemented for Villains mode were never touched. These were all features that were supposed to skim around the edges of Adventure mode and make Adventure mode a better experience than what it currently is. The current plan is to release a lot of the villain features alongside of Adventure mode for Premium Dwarf Fortress. This includes things like work existing mechanics into conspiracy chains, bandit groups, and raid and pillage the hill dwarves and extort from the fortresses. They'll steal and demand artifacts. And then, of course, the one feature that's actually made it into the current version, which is thieves stealing items, assassination of position-holding dwarves and meddling adventurers, and prisoner interrogations in both modes, Fortress and Adventure, currently just in Fortress and not fully functional. Receiving tips and rumors, both modes, as well as sending out Dwarven agents and investigators, which we have no ability to do yet. And improve Fortress and Adventure rumor displays to highlight known plots and elements. Yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. As well as hideouts and strongholds, and better alerts and identity checks, and includes bandit forts and return of castles and better necromancer towers. Alongside of Adventure mode's improvements, they also wish to prioritize important information to the players so that the player actually knows what they're supposed to be doing, and show personal relationships and the latest people met and global reputations to the player, which currently is not really shown in either mode, and show site relations and entity positions and map holdings. This is sort of shown in Fortress mode, but not as well as it could be. They have, in fact, implemented mounts and pets that came in 2022, or not in 2022, back in 2020, as well as equipment selection and adventure party support, meaning as of 2020, you could take parties of adventurers out instead of just a single adventurer. Adventurer and military improvements is also something that is planned, meaning gaining civ level entity positions, as example Baron, via adventure mode, so allowing the adventurer to become a baron or somebody of note politically. Basic command of large armies on a travel scale map, which I've only heard talk about and suggestion of. No idea how that'll actually look in game. And giving local combat orders to companies. See your followers below. Tactical party controls, which are in the game in adventure mode, as well as medical improvements. Something else that adventure mode currently does terribly that desperately is needed for especially the premium release is better quest handling, because currently there is none. You better just write down the name of the person who gave you the quest and hope that you can find them again, because if you can't, well, good luck. So they want better reputation and proximity checks, can ask about specific opportunities, changing how reputation and titles work, and the ability to ask after artifacts. After adventure mode and the villain's arc is completed, the next thing that they have planned is dwarf army improvements. Now, Tarn has talked a couple of times in the past about how he wants the ability for us to have a lot more control over what we're actually doing in combat, and this has had a number of theoretical possible ways it could look. I'm not going to speculate too much on here, but what I will say is there's been talk about having dwarves or things attacking your dwarves being able to, dig underground and dig under your walls and whatnot, and the army improvements in sieges is kind of listed as follows. New missions, pillaging versus raids, raising sites, and demanding tribute. Now, this was added into the game some time ago. Seizing position holders and prisoners, so when you attack other things, you could seize them as prisoners, which is also very much not in the game yet. Assassinations of position holders, not sort of in the game. Taking over sites and administrators. This is in the game, but doesn't really work properly in Fortress mode. Getting an off-site holding can jump a fort to barony status. If this is true, this is news to me. I didn't know that that's in the game, but apparently they've added that. And then attracting hill dwarves to become a baron peacefully. And then basic hill dwarf and administered site interactions. So some of you may have noticed the occasional pop-up in your full screen that says Helix looks to your holdings for their future prosperities or whatever. That is this. So hill dwarves are Helixes. They are groups of dwarves that are connected to your faction that you don't have direct control over, and this is going to give you some sort of administrative duties over top of them alongside of the army update. And it shows off and then they want to show off all of your off-site armies and to send a squad or messenger to activate them, and defensive off-site armies with the ability to stall and report on incoming sieges, and army battles, offensive orders for both off-site armies, and see army improvements below. And then there's more army improvements, and of course I will link to this full page on their website if you would like to go through it on your own time. Now that we've read through several things, let's kind of backtrack real quick. Adventure mode, plus Villains Part 2, and then Dwarven Army improvements. Now, I'm going to just put my hypothetical timeline on this, which is going to be wrong, I guarantee you. But what I will say is my expectation is it's going to take them a year to retool Adventure Mode and add in the Villains improvements after they start working on it. To my knowledge, they haven't started working on it yet. The last blog posts that Tarn put up made it sound like they might start working on things soon, but they are still hiring currently for a audio designer to help them work on audio for adventure modes, so things are still quite a ways off. Dwarven army improvements are going to come in after that, so this means we have to wait probably about a year for adventure mode once they start working on it, and then the dwarf army improvements will be I had to bet 6 months to a year after that, because that's going to require some hefty map rewrite chunks. Now that we are 3 years out in development time, it's time to get to the fun stuff. Creation myths and magic systems. Creation myth generation and parameters. Magic settings from none to ubiquitous. Non-magical worlds will still have possibly multiple creation myths, and randomness settings from Earth-like world to standard fantasy to completely random. Hostility settings, no death or violence, or regular settings to bleak and horrifying. Detailed chronological order of creation. Creative actions taken by gods and ancient races and cosmic eggs and primordial chaos, resulting in humans, dwarves, and land, and every other in-game object, and generated explanations for death and afterlife, and the origins of magic fully integrated into the myth, and magical landforms generating and/or replacing good and evil regions and the underworld. And they can be closely tied to new magic systems and shape materials related to the creation myth and deities and angels and demons and faces and spirits, and further integrated into the world and new generated race and categories and primordial giants and titans and fairies and mythic artifacts and expanded artifact framework. Historically, for those of us who've been playing Dwarf Fortress for too long, this update has been known as the Long Wait, and I remember hearing people estimating that it would be out around 2025 back in 2015 as a joke. At this point, when I look at the creation myths and the magic systems and hear talk of Tarn's supposed myth and magic generator prototype he's got hiding on a PC somewhere, I expect this to be out by like 2029, maybe later. Dwarf Fortress's development is slow but steady, and I think that over the next few years we have a lot to look forward to. We have Adventure Mode and Villains Part 2 hopefully out at this time next year, or this time next year plus a few months. And then after that, Sieges and updates to that, the map rewrites somewhere in the middle there, and then after that, long off in the future, we have the mythical myths and magic systems to look forward to, which supposedly have already been prototyped. I don't know if this video has been helpful to any of you, but this is a kind of my overview of the hypothetical or theoretical Dwarf Fortress roadmap with some probably wrong dates connected. If you found this video valuable and the information that I shouted at you, check out my Twitch streams. You can find me at twitch.tv/BLINDIRL, or if you want to support this video directly, you can do that via my Patreon. That is patreon.com/BLINDIRL. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.